take this moment to kind of introduce the team of the communications department. They're all sitting at the back, so I'll just have them maybe stand up for me. Really quick, I want to introduce you guys. If you haven't met her yet, she's the one emailing some of you guys sometimes and communicating. There's Jessica Vicente at the very back. Stand up. Thank you, Jessica. She's our projects manager for the communications department. Thank you, Jess. Next to her is Christine. Christine is our chief social media officer. She takes care of all the planning that happens through our social media feeds for the corporation and for the different departments that exist and want our services. Van, our new teammate at the very back. Van, thank you. Raise your hand. He's our senior editor here at our office, and we're happy to have him on board. The one taking the photos is our art director. Where is Mick? Is she around? She's at the very back. She's camera shy, so thank you, Mick, for being here. And of course, we have our associate director, Edward. Edward is our senior writer as well, so thank you, Ed, for being here. He's part of the team. And of course, our fearless leader, Pastor Heshbon, who was speaking in front of us earlier. So that team, Kuya Welsi, sorry. Our audio and visual technician and expertise here is Kuya Welsi. He's at the very back. He makes things happen for us whenever. And of course, the guy who always wants to be in front of the camera. And right now, thank you, JD. JD is behind the camera. JD is our leader right now for our development of a lot of our content, so we thank him for his presence. And JD is our developer for our productions that we have for our division. Having said that, we have been very strategic, as Pastor Hesh was saying, strategic in how we try to build our team. To build the team, there was a lot of discussion and wrestling to figure out how to headhunt people that could benefit not just a location or the building, but could benefit the rest of the division through their skills and talents that they have. Having said that, the reason we're here at ComLab is because we want to find a space where we can bring together communicators that work within the church to bond together for just a short time. You know, we're happy that this happened in 2 years in a row. When we first discussed this, it was supposed to be once every 5 years, but graciously, our administration has allowed us to have it twice now, and hopefully maybe for a third time. Often we have conventions, and our directors are there. Our directors listen to what's happening around the world or happening throughout the region, and they're more of the decision makers. And we wanted a platform and a space where the people who do the work, the people who stay overtime, the people who get the last minute call and need to get that video done before the next day, we wanted a meeting and a collaboration with those individuals. And that is why your administrations have taken the sacrifice to bring you here. So I think they deserve a hand of applause. Thank you. And so it is we are in a special situation right now where you guys get to travel to be here for almost a week's time, and it's all catered by the church. Not everywhere do we get that type of benefit, and so we're very grateful for that. At this space, we want to ask that everyone takes off their hats, their invisible hats. At the office, you may have multiple roles. You may be in different institutions in our division: hospital, education, communications, Hope Channel, AWR. We ask that for a moment, for this week, we take off that hat. And during this time, we put on the hat of creativity. We want that to be our primary purpose to be here. In my previous life, I used to do a lot of freelancing and working with production houses for their graphics and technicals. In that atmosphere, doesn't matter where you're from, there's always an expectation of discipline, an expectation that you're there on time, that when the director or the assistant director or the client walks into the room, it's all hands on deck. It's going the extra mile to make sure that everything goes smoothly. I loved what happened this morning, the transition, people walking up asking, hey, what can I bring over? And that was that was a joy to my heart. So What is CommLab? What is the communication laboratory? Well, I just mentioned earlier, it's a space for us to collaborate first. Second, it's a space for us to learn together. I mentioned last night that we all have different expertise and even years in the ministry. And that's a perfect way for us to have a mentoring capacity, a facilitating capacity for everyone to learn. From unions that have the capacity of having big studios to missions and conferences that might just have a smaller studio. The other aspect of the event that's happening here and the activities, it's there to develop a discipline. You know, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a young man that started his online influence. And you may know him by the name of Chris Du. And he was just a designer. He just wanted to create and share his strategies and the way he does things. Today, about 6 years later, everyone clamors just to be in his boot camps. And his boot camps aren't the traditional boot camps where you come up and see all the gear and everything. It's you have to pay X amount of money just to sign up first. He doesn't yet accept your money. He has to choose you. You have to explain why you want to be mentored and trained by him. If I'm not mistaken, about a year ago, he actually flew here to the Philippines, and Jess was going crazy because she wanted to be there. And there was this long prerequisites that you had to do. You had to explain to him what your business or your organization is. What are your long-term goals? And if you attended his workshop, what would be the benefit for your ministry or for your business? That was the prerequisite before you can even pay. And by the time you're about to pay, it's about $2,000 just to be there for like 1 night or 2 nights. And part of that is not just you or if you were to be there, it wasn't just you listening, it was a dialogue. He would sit down with you, but there would be a routine. You would have to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go jogging with him. You would spend the whole day morning breakfast with him. You would spend the discussion hours with him. You're going to sit down and have lunch with him. That value means something to businesses, to creatives that want to extend their excellence, that want to upgrade themselves so that they can better distinguish themselves or their brand in their audience or in their community. So what more us, a church that believes that we have a special message, that we have to package it in such a way that everyone will see who Jesus is. That's the expectations that we want to bring to CommLab. We have value in our skills. All of you may have different backgrounds. Some of you may not have backgrounds linked to communications. You know, on our team, there's only 2 people out of the 10-member team that have a background in communications. The rest of us became skilled, became hobby, became career prior to coming here and working at the division. And so we want to remember where we come from. You know, in Genesis 2:15, when God created everything and he's created Adam, and he gave him a task that he befitted for the garden to take care of it and to work inside of it. The core value of being a disciple is stewardship. We use the term digital discipleship, but what does that mean? If God created Adam to take care of the garden and to develop it, to take raw materials and to create something out of it, we were created to create something. As stewards, we are required. The fundamental belief is that we are going to do our best with everything we have. And Paul says, whatever your hands touches, do it for the glory of God. A baker can take raw materials, the water, the flour, heat, and make that into a cake that you would eat on your special date. If you are an engineer, your skills would take raw materials and build a building like this. How about us creators? The creativity that God has implanted in your mind, in your heart, in your hands has the ability to play with sound, with color, with words, and so much more. Art, in the art world, things can be very expensive for just something that looks like somebody splatted their paintbrush on the board. And it becomes interpreted by different people to have different types of meaning. Our goal, being part of the communication teams or Avidus communicators, is to bring value to what our hands can give. God has given us certain positions, certain responsibilities within our offices or within our institutions. So what are we doing with our hands? So I would like to implore today, as we think about our activities, the assignments, the breakout sessions that we have planned out for this week, we use this as an opportunity to put our creative hats on, our learning caps on. That when we leave this place, we have developed ourselves to create better workflows, work as a team, become more efficient in our offices, and most of all, learn how to package the gospel, the message of Christ, the branding of our church, the branding of our different institutions to bring value to people who see them on a daily basis. So my prayer is, guys, as we start this morning, as we listen to our presenters, I want to give you that opportunity to grab it and don't let go of it. Work with your teams, support your teammates, and find ways to be creative for God's glory.